Meanwhile, due to Trump's low cash and limited resources, the Biden campaign said that they think Florida is winnable. I mean, technically, Powerball is winnable, but doesn't make it a good bet, you know?
Yes. Late night TV doing what passes for humor these days about Biden having more available campaign cash because billionaires funneling money to the Democrats, you know, like at the big event in New York the other day when they ignored the police funeral. You may recall that. Millionaires and billionaires. Yes, the Democrat Party. You could pay $500,000 the other night to shake the hands of Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. You should bring some hand sanitizer. $500,000 and get your Annie Leibovitz picture with them. That's great stuff. Yet the front page of the Washington Post today, above the fold, the headline is, U.S. told Russia, wait, that's not it. They also told Russia, that the Biden people are going to try to protect their oil facilities from the Ukrainians. But front page, I apologize, below the fold today in the Washington Post, from California billionaire, a lifeline for Trump. All right? Auto loan executive who covered $175 million bond says it's business, not politics. That's because he knows he's going to get paid back with interest, and that's how that works. That's business. Remarkable stuff. But they're very excited, the Democrats, to announce that the Biden camp has more cash on him. The NPR headline, Biden is using his cash advantage to address vulnerabilities against Trump. That's National Panhandler Radio. They publish this. They all get paid and drive Mercedes-Benz station wagons at taxpayer expense in order to be just one prong of the Democrat Party's propaganda apparatus. And the Republicans in Congress have been so dumb for so long that they still continue to allow the funding of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is nothing but a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. Excited to announce Biden's campaign cash advantage will be used to address his vulnerabilities against Trump. And that's when you see money in politics is good. Money in politics is good when Democrats have more money and Republicans have less money. And the media, they're all very excited. Oh, Biden's raising more money. He's got more money than Trump. Trump is rich and Biden is corrupt and he gets millions of dollars from Ukraine and Russia and China poured into the family coffers, and all of that is okay. But pay no attention. But National Panhandler Radio, the Democratic Party has an advantage of almost $100 million in cash on hand. That's their cash advantage. And they're trying to use it to that edge to address Biden's vulnerabilities. What brain surgery? Going to need open brain surgery. Can use that $100 million for that. And so the Democrats, and that means the media and Panhandler Radio at taxpayer expense, honestly defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting at long last, for the love of amazing stuff. And the Washington Post, very upset. California billionaire lifeline for Trump. Didn't Joe Biden just have a room full of billionaires in New York City paying $500,000? You could get away with paying only $100,000 for the photograph and access to Radio City Music Hall for the big fundraiser event where they raised a record $26 million. But that was good news on the front page of the Washington Post. Our news media is the most corrupt institution in America, as we all know. Quite remarkable. Yes, indeed. You're Democrats. Also, reading through the Washington Post, the most awful newspaper in the Mid-Atlantic region, the Metro sectional. They have the A-sectional. Some of them are A-sectional. Some of them are Metro sectional. And the front page of the Metro sectional This made me laugh out loud. Maryland Democrats in disagreement over tax rates. They're in disagreement over it. What do you think the disagreement is in the tax rates? The subheadline is House, Senate remain divided on when to raise them and by how much. So good news, Michael. Michael lives in Maryland. Good news. The Democrats are fighting over how much to raise, not whether to raise your taxes, not to refund, not to lower your taxes, but how much to raise your taxes and when. And when just has to do with the fact that it's an election year. But the Democrats in Maryland's $63 billion spending plan for next year is tangled in intra-party gridlock in Annapolis as Democrats in the House and Senate have not meaningfully budgeted in the second day of a standoff over whether to pass $1.2 billion in tax and fee increases. So they're going to raise taxes. It's just a matter because they're greedy and power drunk. So they want to make sure it doesn't hurt their own political power to raise taxes by over $1 billion on the people of Maryland. That's just the when. But the debate in the Washington Post lays it out in their subheadline. The Democrats in the House, the Democrats in the Senate remain divided on when, not if, but when to raise taxes and by how much. So congratulations to everyone in Maryland. The Democrats are in charge. That's going to cost you because they're like gangsters. It's a gangland shakedown. And what was it the Obama administration, who was it, Ron Bloom, said that they essentially agree with Chairman Mao, the communist Chinese dictator, who murdered more people than any person in the history of the world. They essentially agree with Chairman Mao about their political power, that, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. That's what they believe. Amazing stuff. Also on the front page of the Metro section today, the Metro sectional. House Republicans, that's in the Congress now, national, federal, House Republicans put forth bill to rename Dulles Airport. And that's the whole headline. You got to read into it to discover that some House Republicans have introduced legislation to rename Washington's Dulles International Airport after former President Donald Trump. That'll make him crazy, won't it? This is kind of a great idea, really. It's a fun idea because what we used to call Washington National Airport, just across the river from the mighty Potomac River from more or less downtown Washington, D.C., down the river a little. And they renamed it. We renamed it Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. It's Washington's Ronald Reagan National Airport. And there's a larger-than-life bronze statue of Ronald Reagan in front. Democrats have vandalized it a couple of times because they're all criminals, I think, too, in addition to being mentally ill. Not all of them, but, all the criminals are Democrats. Not necessarily all Democrats are criminals, but you vote for more crime when you vote for Democrats. And so they want to rename it Donald Trump International Airport, and that'll make them crazy. The great thing about renaming National Airport Reagan Airport is that there are lots and lots of Democrats around here who refuse to call it Reagan Airport, and they do their best to not use it. Of course, it's kind of hard to do. But a lot of them are so mental that the greatest president of their lifetimes or their parents' lifetimes is an enemy to them because he was too pro-American, too pro-Western, anti-communist, anti-totalitarian. Too on our side, Ronald Reagan. And it's a great airport, really. They just expanded the heck out of it, too. They expanded Dulles International Airport enormously recently as well. And it's a little kind of a far drive for me because I live in D.C. But it can be a great airport. If you're going to Europe or Asia or something in particular, it's pretty great. But they want to rename it Donald Trump International Airport. It's now called DIA, Dulles International Airport. The airport code is DIA. And then it'd be, what would it be? DJT, Donald J. Trump, or DTI, Donald Trump International. The Democrats will glue themselves to the runway before they allow this to happen. And I mean like members of Congress will glue the palms of their hands to the runways at Dulles before they allow this to happen. The bill to rename the Virginia airport after the polarizing 2024 presidential candidate. Well, he's mostly polarizing because you guys are so fanatical because of Trump derangement syndrome. Faces tough odds, the Washington Post types on behalf of their party, the Democrat Party. The House has a slim GOP majority, and sure does. And, of course, the Democrats, the Lizard King and Schumer, control the Senate. Speaking of which, do we have Chuck Schumer threatening the Supreme Court? You remember when Chuck Schumer went over, he's the Democrat leader in the Senate, he went over to the Supreme Court to scream on the steps and wave his fist with his Lizard King tongue darting all over the place. And he went to the Supreme Court to express his anger and his contempt for Brett Kavanaugh and Neil Gorsuch because he's anti-American and he's anti, our way of life. He's a terrible, horrible person. Well, this is kind of an amazing story today because the Democrats are a dangerous party, of course, and Schumer went over to the Supreme Court to threaten Supreme Court justices. And then you may remember a would-be assassin showed up at the home of Brett Kavanaugh, not too terribly far from this radio station, as a matter of fact. And he was there with a gun and extra magazines and wanted to murder Brett Kavanaugh. He plotted to murder 3 conservative nominees to the Supreme Court because they're, he was inspired by the Democrats, like the Democrats inspired people to murder police officers across the country and so on. But remarkable stuff. Chuck Schumer threatening the Supreme Court.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You are
and the mad crowd.
If you go forward with these awful decisions.
And this is threatening, he's the Democrat leader in the Senate, threatening members of the Supreme Court by name with a mob outside. Shortly thereafter, a would-be assassin showed up outside the home. He was arrested outside the home of Brett Kavanaugh. He came to Washington with a plan to murder 3 Supreme Court justices. The would-be assassin, a Democrat, and that is it was a one-day story because the Democrat Party has killers and murderers and assassins all over the place. A Democrat campaign volunteer murdered Martin Luther King. A self-identified communist murdered John F. Kennedy. An anti-Israel Palestinian murdered Bobby Kennedy. Now the Democrat Party is much closer on the political spectrum to Lee Harvey Oswald than they are to John F. Kennedy. And, almost shockingly, the Democrat Party is much closer to Sirhan Sirhan politically than they are to Bobby Kennedy. Now, with that, the headline today is Florida man sentenced to 14 months in prison for threatening to kill Chief Justice John Roberts, Chief Justice of the United States. A Florida man sentenced Monday to 14 months in prison for threatening to kill Chief Justice John Roberts last year. Neil Bridge Sidhwani, Brijsidhwaney, Neil Bridge Sidhwani, 43 years old, of Fernanda Beach in Florida, pleaded guilty in December to, his plot to kill the Chief Justice of the United States. This is because the Democrats have demonized and vilified the United States, and they've got assassins all over the place. They're the killingest bunch of people you ever want to meet. In fact, you might not even want to meet them. Just the Democrats being Democrats. You know that Eden Pure is having their famous BOGO deal on thunderstorm air purifiers going on right now. When you buy one Eden Pure thunderstorm, you get a second Eden Pure thunderstorm for free. We have 2 at home ourselves. No matter how many you buy, you get an equal number for free. You buy 2 Eden Pure thunderstorms, you get 2 for free. You buy 5 Eden Pure thunderstorms, you get 5 Eden Pure thunderstorms for free. The thunderstorm will help completely eliminate any odor, even the worst odors, cigarette smoke, litter boxes, cooking by your mother-in-law. Even Michael Moore is no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. The O3 molecules in the Eden Pure seek out and destroy the odors even behind and under furniture. Nothing can hide from the thunderstorm. And right now, well, it's the time to order because it's Eden Pure's buy one, get one free sale. And this is for a limited time only, so don't wait. With thousands of 5-star reviews online, you know it works like a champ. People are buying several for around the home, at the office, even as gifts for your uncle, who maybe needs one. Just go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code ChrisBOGO. Chris, B-O-G-O, for buy one, get one. That's EdenPureDeals.com, and the discount code is ChrisBOGO. Yeah, the Democrat Party. It's a violently dangerous criminal party. But they have information dominance. So they tell you that everything's just great. Pay no attention to all of the violence. They tell us, oh no, crime is great. The economy is great. The border's secure. The Republicans are the problem. It's their fault. They opened the border. Because lying works better for them than telling the truth. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. That's funny. I had a Gaff a couple of minutes ago. And our smarter than me listeners contacted us immediately. I said the code for Dulles International Airport is DIA. Which is, of course, the Defense Intelligence Agency, but the code for Dulles is IAD, the International Airport at Dulles. I've only flown out of there 100 times, but never mind that. Yeah, so the 14 months for the man that threatened to assassinate, to murder the Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, on the Supreme Court. You may remember Nicholas Roski was captured outside the home of Brett Kavanaugh after Chuck Schumer was threatening the Supreme Court and Brett Kavanaugh by name, but the news media didn't pick up on that. News media didn't pick up on the fact that the man that shot, went to the baseball field, James Hodgkinson, and tried to murder the entire Republican field there. Wanted to murder the whole team. Shot and nearly killed Congressman Steve Scalise. He was a Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer, but that didn't become a part of the story. Aren't they amazing? I've got an update on the women's basketball team, too. I kind of love this story. It shows that America still exists. For the NCAA, your national, your college, the women's basketball, which was fun to watch the other night. I talked about it, and I talked about the fact that the Louisiana State University women's basketball team boycotted the national anthem, which, not saying they should be gassed or anything, but they're obviously no fun, and they're anti-American, and they're racist, and I'm glad they lost. I don't know if they're racist or not. They just throw that because they call everybody racist. So it's fun to call everybody racist. They've made it fun. And what we have going on down there in Baton Rouge, beautiful Baton Rouge, Louisiana, college athletes in Louisiana must be at national anthem or risk scholarship. You get your athletic scholarship to LSU, and out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana's newly elected Republican governor, Jeff Landry, this is a lot of fun, has now put himself in a controversy regarding the LSU women's basketball team. Landry did not like hearing about the women's team not being on the court for the national anthem before its NCAA regional game against Iowa and Caitlin Clark on Monday night, a game that I actually watched. Kind of like watching Iowa and Caitlin Clark. She's remarkable. And she's, happy and normal. She's an American. She's not a political radical, an extremist, a fascist, like so many lefty young people are today. LSU women's basketball coach Kim Mulkey said her players are involved in a pregame prayer. Sure, that's what happened. And last-minute strategy at the time shortly before games. Sure, every time. They don't, there's an anthem? We didn't know. Following the same routine for home games at LSU. I don't believe her. Landry, the governor, also learned that the football team and other teams are also not on the field at Tiger Stadium as the national anthem is played for similar reasons. I got to tell you, this is why people are just turning the channel on so many things. And it's the left in every single instance. It's always the left attacking the bedrock principles of not just the United States of America, but Western civilization itself. Christianity. Easter isn't Easter. It's Transgender Visibility Day. Just don't play duck, duck, goose on Easter Sunday with these people. And the governor delivered a strong message Tuesday for student athletes at colleges in Louisiana to follow, or else. All right? He wrote on X, "My mother coached women's high school basketball during the height of desegregation. No one has a greater respect for the sport and for Coach Mulkey. However, above respect for that game is a deeper respect for those that serve to protect us and unite us under one flag." Good for him, and that's just his warm-up act, because he goes on brilliantly to say that if you don't come out for the national anthem, guess what? He said, "It is time that all college boards, including Regent, put a policy in place that student athletes be present for the national anthem or risk their athletic scholarship!" Exclamation mark. This is a matter of respect that all collegiate coaches should instill. I agree 100%. You arrogant, ignorant, misguided little nitwits. I'll just say nitwits. And I love the fact that the governor is out. Governor Landry, Jeff Landry, he's out saying, you don't even show up for the national anthem? They're in back taking a knee, spitting on the American flag, burning the flag like so many Democrats do. They love burning the flag. They don't even bring you to... I noted the other night at Radio City Music Hall when Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton were on stage and the room was full of Democrats clapping like seals. There were no American flags in sight anywhere on the stage or in the building, which reminded us that Hillary Clinton's nominating campaign in Philadelphia, 2016, there were no flags, American flags in the hall. There were Palestinian flags and Mexican flags in the hall and no American flags. The Democrat Party is not on our side. Not on our side. Then the Louisiana Freedom Caucus weighed in on their X account as well. The Louisiana Freedom Caucus joins Louisiana Governor Greg Landry in urging all college boards, including regents, to put into place a policy that would require student athletes to be present for the national anthem at their venues before a game or risk their athletic scholarships. Of course, they're all there on athletic scholarships, right? But they're anti-American? Well, I can't say the words that are occurring to me right now, so I won't. But I think that's great. And I think it's great that Iowa won and Louisiana lost. It made me very happy that Iowa won and Louisiana lost. By the way, the television ratings for the Iowa LSU NCAA rematch set an all-time record for women's basketball in terms of viewership. And I believe it was 12.2 million viewers that tuned in for this big basketball game. And LSU lost. And I'm very happy they lost, because you can take your anti-American, left-wing, radical, anti-flag protests and you can put them where your scholarship goes next year when you don't get it. Just extraordinary. Great stuff. Great that the ratings were gigantic. I actually, my best girl and I watched. It's not something we would have been in the habit of doing last year, although we did catch some of the end of the season last year as well. But the fact that there were, I believe, 12.2 million people watching the game, and shattering all records. Just like this, Caitlin Clark has shattered. She shattered records, crazy records. She shattered the men's records in NCAA basketball for points scored and for three-pointers and for this and for that. She's quite remarkable, and she's great to watch, and she's calm, cool, collected, not an arrogant, stupid, ignorant, political, sneering, Democrat, liberal, who should be kicked out of college and move into a cardboard box under a bridge in Los Angeles, California, as the settlers called it. L.A. Just amazing. Yes, they are. By the way, oil prices have jumped to over $85 a barrel. Over $85 a barrel. I went and got gasoline in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Now, I drive a very high-performance car. It also flies. So I get premium gasoline because they told me, you got to use premium gasoline. And I drive very, very little. I drive 1,800 miles a year. So I get premium gasoline because they want me to in my car. And I'm going to resell it someday, and it'll always have premium gasoline. But nevertheless, it was $4.85 a gallon. $4.85 a gallon. In Washington, D.C., in every state in America, the state makes more money off of a gallon of gasoline in taxes, this is true, than the oil company that owns the gas station. If you buy your gas at Exxon, an Exxon station, Exxon makes fewer pennies off of a gallon of gas than the state you live in makes because the taxes are so high on gasoline. Just amazing. Now, oil prices have jumped to over $85 a barrel. I told you several days ago that we're expecting gas prices to leap again back to $4 a gallon soon. And that's bad for the Democrats politically, so they have to lie about it, and that's what they'll do. Oil prices have jumped over $85 a barrel. Gas prices are up 20 cents a gallon over the past month. But you know what's down a lot? U.S. oil production. This is on X from David Asman at Fox Business and Fox News. But oil production is actually down 6% in January from the month before compared to December because the Democrats are anti-gasoline, anti-fossil fuels, anti-cheap and plentiful energy, which is what all economies run on. But gas prices up 20 cents a gallon in the past month. Oil production down 6% from December to January. You think President Biden's team is happy that gas cars have become more expensive? Well, of course they are, because they're forcing everyone over to electric vehicles, right? And Pete Buttigieg is our energy secretary, and he's awful at his job. And he was out there yesterday singing the praises of electric vehicles, and electric Tesla sales are down for the first time. And he's like, oh, no, electric vehicles are great, and there's no place to plug them in. And they just spent, what did they spend? How many billions of dollars on producing? I talked about this story the other day, $7.5 billion. And we have 7 new charging stations in the United States because Democrats are in charge.
Let's be clear that the automotive sector is moving toward EVs, and we can't pretend otherwise. Sometimes when these debates happen, I feel like it's the early 2000s, and I'm talking to some people who think that we can just have landline phones forever.
Yeah, that's what's going on. We're moving toward electric vehicles because they're cutting back on the production of energy, making it more expensive to fill your tank with gas, more expensive to drive gas-powered vehicles, trying to get you to buy $60,000 electric vehicles and then not be able to charge them anywhere while they spend $7.5 billion on 7 new charging stations in the United States, and it took them 2 years to get there. These people are fired. I'm pinching my time a little bit, but mailbag. Wednesday is mailbag day here on the Chris Plant Show. Mailbag questions. From Jimmy I've been talking about, you know, how they have their LGBTQIIIAA plus minus ampersand pound sign and all that stuff. I've been talking about creating an acronym for straight people. And Jimmy has a suggestion. Not so much a question, but a suggestion. Regarding your acronym question today, you know, for straight people, we'd do a backronym. But we'll work on that. Jimmy says, regarding your acronym question today, an acronym for us. How does SANE sound? SANE, S-A-N-E. Simply adhering to a normal existence. SANE. I like that. That's pretty good, I got to say. And then, coincidentally, the next question comes from Sane, Maryland 2. See, there's a lot of sane going on because we know we're fighting the battle against insanity in America. Tough question. What is your favorite Led Zeppelin song and why? You know, that's tough, but I'm going to answer. Going to California. I'm going to answer going to California. Going to California on a big jet plane. Never let them tell you that they are the same. Sane again. Never let them tell you that they are. I'm gonna go with going to California. It's a happy, mellow. I like the mellow Led Zeppelin music. I have a whole collection on a CD of mellow Led Zeppelin songs, and Going to California is a great one. And I moved to California when I just turned 19, and I liked the song back then, and I like it now. And I love the line, going to California on a big jet plane, never let them tell you that they are the same. Now, what's he talking about? He's talking about jet planes. Because jet planes, when Led Zeppelin was doing these songs, jet planes were new, and that was the first time they'd flown a jet plane, and like, jet planes are not the same. Kind of makes me laugh. But it's a great mellow Led Zeppelin song, and I do love that song. I'm going to go with that. Thought Criminal asks, has the American news, I'm making quotation marks with my fingers, has the American news media, he wrote in parentheses, I'm making quotation marks with my fingers, has the American news media, once called the Fourth Estate, always been the fifth column, or is this a new thing? Well, that is a great question, Thought Criminal. And he's thought criminal because the Democrats are making everything into thought crimes and word crimes and speech crimes because they're fascists. They're the left. They're not liberals at all. They've always been liberal. In my lifetime, they've leaned liberal and voted Democrat. But now they're completely off the rails. They're worse than ever before. I had to leave CNN because it became, after 17 years, because it became too embarrassing to say that I worked there and to say that I worked in the news media. I took a job doing information operations in Iraq for the Special Operations Command because that's honest work. And then that blew up because of a New York Times article, but never mind that. Has the Fourth Estate always been a fifth column? They're definitely a fifth column now for Hamas and Putin and China. They're not on our side. They're not on the side of Western civilization. They're worse than ever before. That's a fact, Jack. That's what I'm telling you. Stephen says, what's the best interview you had when you were in the business reporting the news? That's kind of, an interesting question. I could go on for a long time about that. I interviewed Norma McCorvey. She was Jane Roe in Roe versus Wade. That was kind of a fun one. I interviewed a lot of people. Paula Jones, assaulted by Bill Clinton. But one of them that I think of often is Robert Sheets Byrd, as Rush Limbaugh used to call him, the exalted cyclops of the Democrat Party. I interviewed him in the old Senate chamber on a historic anniversary of the Senate chamber. And it went on and on and on and on to the point where his press person was going behind him and rolling his eyes and doing the cut across his throat and stuff. I interviewed a lot of people that I thought were great in a lot of different arenas. I interviewed transgender street prostitutes in Washington, D.C. out on 1 a.m. in the streets of D.C. I interviewed police at crime scenes. I interviewed a lot of people, and a lot of them were noteworthy. Buddy says, knowing that you appreciate memorable lines in movies, I've been curious as to the origin of one of your signature sayings on your TV show on Newsmax. Did you get "and that's that" from Goodfellas scene where the old mobsters killed Joe Pesci, the Joe Pesci character? And that's that. That's true. The plastic on the floor and everything. I can't say definitively that I did, but that might be the explanation for it. That's good. That's a great one, buddy. I like that. My father went by the name Buddy, too, by the way. And I've got one last question from Gail I want to get to, but you can hear Led Zeppelin going to California playing, and that means that I've got to take a break here. Good question from Gail coming up, and I'll answer that just on the other side of going to California and then the break. Ah, yes. Let me tell you. All right, now let me get to last question. I got so much to get to. Danang Dick, Democrat Senator Extraordinaire and big fat liar. I've got an amazing story. Sonia Sotomayor and Danang Dick. That's coming up because it's just great, and it's the fear, the panic that the Democrats are experiencing. I have that coming up. But my last mailbag question here. Gail asks, how did you meet your best girl, and how long have you guys been together? That's kind of a fun question. I was at CNN on the, I was at that time an assignment editor working on the Washington, D.C. assignment desk for CNN. My best girl was working for CNN in Atlanta, Georgia, as a national assignment editor. And we would communicate telephonically and with text messages and a computer starting in 1991. And we started flirting. My best girl, I went down to Atlanta and drove her up here February of 1994. We arrived here Valentine's Day weekend, 1994. I stopped in at her place for one night and never left. We've been together ever since. Got married August 24th, 4 years ago.